Life is like a game. We have rules we have to go by. We have limitations. There's certain things we can do and certain things we can't do. And knowing which is which sometimes can be a little tricky. Some moves we make, and some moves are made that we didn't make. So we have some control over what we're doing. But other people and other things in our life also make moves. And what do we do when that happens? How we react, what moves we make. Looking at everything that's on the board, looking at everything that's going on in our life. Do we make the right move? Other opportunities come, and we make another move. And moves are made against us. But we compensate. And as things happen, we move forward, watching. When we make a move that we really like, we think we're in good shape. We think we're in good shape. Here we have a situation where things can look very, very nice for us. That bishop, that knight, and that queen right here. Right there. All nine. And if we have an opportunity where this knight gets moved, now, what do we got? We got a bishop going right to that queen. An opportunity. Really looks good. We see nothing but there. It's so good, we just look at it and say, this is too good to be true. And we don't see anything else. We just see that queen, and we see our opportunity to take it. And we're looking at that, and we're not looking at nothing else. So you come for a reading. So you come for a reading, and you say, well, I got this great opportunity here. And you're really set on it. You really are. You're really stuck on this thing. Should I take this? Should I make the move? Should I go for this? And it's up to the reader to be able to look at all these other pieces, all these other aspects that are going on. Look at all the other positions in the card spread and say, well, what you should do. That's why those positions are there. Because this move does look sweet. But if you take that move, you lost the whole game. So if the reader can see that, certain things you can do, you can't reverse. Certain things you can do, you can't reverse. So if the reader can convince you, the client, don't take that move, that's good. So lots of times they can't. You're too hell-bent on doing it. If you take that move, you take that opportunity, it looks so good. What happens afterwards? There's a check. What limits your moves? Can't move here because of the knight. You can't take the bishop because of the knight. You only have one move. Straight here. And that's the only move you have. The things turned around real quick. And what happens after that is this bishop comes out. And that is checkmate. So that queen looked very good in the beginning, but it sure opened up everything in a bad way for you. That's what you're doing when you're reading. You're trying to find that move that looks so sweet that he's coming to you or she's coming to you with and saying, this looks so good. This really looks good. What should I do? If you take the move, it could really hurt you. So I thought I'd use that analogy to make a point. That chess analogy helps, and I think life is like a game, and we do have certain rules we have to go by. We have certain limitations, but what I don't like about we have a stereotype with the tarot reading, and it's what is going to happen, and supposedly the cards will tell us what is going to happen. And I don't really I never looked at it that way. I don't believe in fate. I've said that before. I think what we see there looks at what's possible. And I think that that's more helpful to the client. We don't have to be spectators in our own life. We have a certain amount of at least a certain amount of control. If you want to believe in destiny, I can't prove that it's not there, but I can't prove that it is there either. Nobody can. So I like to go through things thinking that we have at least some control over things. And what a reader can do there is help you find the possibilities of things and remind you of those possibilities. So life doesn't have to be something that just happens to us, where with a tarot reading, the old tarot reading thinking anyway, when I first got involved with it, was this is what's going to happen to me at the turn of a card. And I think that's bad because it doesn't give people the option to try to do something about it. It's just the cards say this is what's going to happen, and that's your fate, your destiny. And if it's a good destiny, you look at it and say, well, I don't have to do anything about it. It's going to happen. And that's not good either. If it's a bad thing, you don't have anything you can do to change that. And I think that's not good. So to have to look at it as the reader is there to help you find options is a good way to look at it. As far as it's a good attitude to have as a reader. I'm here to find options for you. Even if the option isn't the best thing, isn't a great thing, it might be the best option you have. Hopefully it's more than that, but at least you could do that and say, well, this doesn't look good. The situation that's created here doesn't look good. And I look at the comments, and I appreciate all your comments, by the way. I love to look at them and read them. I try to answer them, at least most of them. Somebody gave a comment here that I thought was a very good way to put this. And that was, what do you do with a question that is, the question was, what does my spouse think of me? And I remember that comment because that is a common question. That's a question I know I've had somebody ask me more than once. What does my partner think of me, or my spouse think of me, my lover, whatever it happens to be? Where's their head at right now? And what I like about with my card spread is that positions 1 and 2 is a look at the question. I'm going to switch this over. Positions 1 and 2, I'm going to number them here, is the question itself. These 2 cards allow me to look at the question itself. Position 7 over here is the client's own viewpoint of their question. And when somebody says a question like that, right off the bat, I know that their question is the real question is obviously they did something's wrong here, more than likely because of them. And they want to know how my client's feeling about it, or their partner's thinking about it. So they did something out of line here, and they want to know how my partner's thinking about this, about me right now. So if there's nothing going on that's wrong, you're not going to ask that question, because it's a no-brainer. What's my partner think of me? Well, if there's nothing going on that's wrong, there's no reason to ask that question. So right off the bat, the question that's being told to you allows you to know that the real question is, what'd you do here? What kind of situations you put yourself in? And let's look at what you can do about it to make it right. Instead of answering, well, your client doesn't think well of you right now, or whatever the cards happen to say. Maybe the cards say your partner thinks you're fine. Well, obviously, if you're asking a question like that, we know that that's not the case. So you can tell a lot by the question they're asking. And you can look at what's the real question then. What'd you do? And what can we do to make that change? And that's what we're really looking at. How do you see it with position 7? What happened in positions 1 and 2? Or what's the situation right now with positions 1 and 2? What are we really looking at? And what do you got going for you? And what can you do to reverse this, if there's anything you can do to reverse it? Sometimes you have a situation you can't unring that bell. And sometimes you can. Just like that chess analogy. You make a move, take that queen, you just lost the game. There's nothing you can do about it if the other side makes the right moves. So once you made that move, you can't change it. And so we need to see what can be changed and what can be reversed. And we know that this is a bad situation because you're coming to a reader to want to know what my spouse thinks of me right now, or my partner. So you ask the question after that, what happened here? What happened? That's all. I ask more questions than most people would think. I ask a lot of questions in a reading. What does my spouse think of me right now? Okay, well, what happened? What's the problem? And usually if you do that, they'll come right out and tell you what happened. And then you're looking at positions 1 and 2. Now with what they asked you, now you're looking at positions 1 and 2 as the real question. Okay, this is what happened. Now we're looking at everything else is what can we do about it? Instead of looking at what does my spouse think of me right now? Well, that doesn't help you. What does my spouse think of me right now? And what can I do to make it better is a lot more helpful to the client. Like I said, we don't have to be spectators and to throw up a card, this is what's going to happen. Or this is what they're thinking, or how can we change? Let's look at it. Well, how can we change it? Look at the possibilities. Remind them of the possibilities. How long have you been with this partner? What good things have you done together? What benefits have your partner and you had from each other? Is that person going to weigh those things out? Does that person need to be reminded? Are you looking at what you did that make this situation happen Are you looking at it as I need to make a change with, I need to reverse this? Maybe 7 is showing that you're not looking at it that way, that you don't think you did anything wrong. Well, maybe you need to look at both sides of that coin and at least see that your partner's side of things. Maybe position 7 needs to look at positions 1 and 2 differently and say, okay, I can see where you're coming from. Because ultimately what we're trying to do is resolve the problem. And that's what you're trying to do. So if you look at position 7 as your attitude toward this problem, like what does my spouse think of me? That's a good example in showing how this works. The real issue here, position 1 and 2, what did you do to make your spouse think anything of you? And what can we do to change? What are you doing right now at position 3, other than saying you're sorry? And what are you trying to accomplish with position 4? Well, obviously, you're trying to tone your spouse's attitude, trying to tone that down. What do you got going for you? What you got going for you is position 5. You and your spouse maybe have a long history together. Maybe married for 15, 20 years. Maybe you've done a lot of good things for your spouse that they need to be reminded of too, and say, okay, I made a mistake here, but overall, I think things have been pretty good. Don't you agree? So got to look at that, what you have here for that. Look at those assets. And number 6 is the opportunity that's coming that you can maybe reverse things here. Maybe you got an anniversary coming. Maybe you have an opportunity to do something good for your spouse or your partner here that would make them evaluate things in a different light. There's got to be an opportunity here. We got to find it. Number 8 is when you act on these things. Well, obviously, a situation like this, you want to start putting things into motion here in a pretty quick way. So each question you're going to get asked is going to have different timing here with position 8. Usually things have to be put in place before you do actions, or if there's a lot of actions you're doing, this allows you to look at what order those got to be done, what needs to be developed or put into place before you move to the next step. That's what this position does. It allows us to look at what's the order of things, what needs to be done first, what needs to be done before this opportunity comes. This one card, one position here could be used in a lot of different places for a lot of different things. It allows you to align things. It really helps put the plan together. Position 9 is the whole purpose of this. Well, position 9, the purpose of this situation, this question would be save my marriage or make things right with the relationship. So yeah, this is, if you wanted to get a divorce, well, maybe we turn all this around then. You say, well, you're going about it the right way here because things are not going well for the situation, but I would still talk this over with your partner instead of just trying to treat that person bad or in a bad way without respect. So there's different ways you can handle this purpose. More than likely, if you're getting a reading, you want to save the situation. And number 10 allows us to get a hint of where this can go, good and bad. Expect some resistance, or expect resistance for 3 months. This card can tell you a lot. Expect things to fall right into place once this starts moving in the right direction. Very forgiving person here. Forgives you. So this card will tell you a way of fine-tuning what this is all about. And like that chess analogy, these positions you can look at and say that's the whole board. All these they're independent of each other, but they all have something that's significant to do with this question we're looking into. And I'll say it again, I think it's really important for you as a reader to ask questions. I don't think it's a good idea to look at a tarot reading as whatever these random cards being turned over is what is going to happen. I like to look at the cards being turned over as possibilities. What's possible? These are things that could give you, as a reader, ideas to be innovative, using your imagination to come up with original ideas. Also, your intuition. You might have intuition on a few of these positions with the cards. You might have intuitions on the overall spread, or you might have intuition just on one position. But it allows you to look at it rationally in pieces. It allows you to look at what actions you need to take to give you the best chance for doing what you're trying to accomplish. And it puts things in line. So the tarot cards are really, I don't feel there's any magic in the cards. I think that the magic is really you. And I know that it helps. The tarot readings give me a lot of insight. And I do know that whatever is inside of me is also inside of you. You can get the same insight that I'm getting. And don't think that you can't. I know you can. It might take a little time, but that's okay. Don't worry about that. So ask questions. Don't look at the cards as something that's cut and dried. This is what's going to happen because of a flip of a card. Look at the cards as ideas. They give you ideas, allowing you to tell your client what's possible for them if they move in this direction. If they do this, if they wait on this and they develop this and they look at this opportunity here and they realign their thinking about this whole situation and do the things that you're looking at here. It's a more valuable type of spread or reading, I should say, and it'll give you a lot of positive results. And will it be intuitive? Sure. There'll be intuitive parts of that reading, but there'll also be a lot of common sense in there, and there'll be a lot of things you didn't see before or your client didn't see before you sat down and handed that reading. So it gives you new ideas, new ways of looking at a situation. And I really think that that's a lot more helpful. You know, you can look at a deck of cards and you can say, okay, I've seen some weird things happen with a deck of cards, but most of the time it's just a deck of ideas. And just like any chance thing, like a random deck of cards, you're going to see some patterns coming out there. They're going to make you wonder. But no, I think you're better off looking at that reading as it's just a random set of ideas for you to look at, allowing you to see things that you didn't see before, which can show you answers that will blow you away. I go into a lot of that in my work, and a lot of you already know that. So anyway, I hope you like this. And I just want to give a perspective on a good way, I think, a good attitude to have about what you're doing when you're being a card reader. And what you're doing is you're showing people the options that they have, the things that they can do to try to make this the direction they want it to go in. They want it to go in a certain direction. They're trying to accomplish an objective of some type, a goal of some type. And this is the best way to go about doing it. And that's what you're doing. And a lot of that's going to come from imagination. A lot of it's going to come from intuition, just gut feeling. And there might be some of it just comes from common sense too. And that's okay. You're an advisor. You're a tarot reader. And I know it works because I've done it for many years. March 14th is our next tarot gathering. All are welcome. Come on by, say hello. And it's just a bunch of people get together that are all involved with the tarot or other types of divination. And it's just a place to meet and share ideas and talk about things. If you got a question about something, bring it. And I'm sure everybody there would love to tell you what they think of that. Everybody's welcome. Doesn't cost anything. It's just a bunch of people get together and socialize for a couple hours. Stay for 15 minutes or stay for the whole thing. It doesn't make any difference. Anyway, that's that. Keep throwing cards. We'll talk soon. Bye.